RiverBender.com. 9:18. Welcome back to this Friday morning. It is party day. 4-4. You know? Did you know that's what they call that? I only use it as an excuse to go out more, but...
Did you just make it out, CJ?
No, okay, kind of. My fifth grade teacher at Gilson Brown, Mr. Berghoff, told us it was party day, and then ever since then, I just kind of took that and made it my own.
Shout out to Paul.
Oh, I'm telling you, coming in clutch with the cash and everything. I learned a lot in that. How are things at Keith Short and Associates?
We're doing great. We're growing.
We can see.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I want to introduce everybody to Andrew Luther. He started at our office today.
This is day one?
Well, this week. I'm sorry. This week. He started Monday, and he's getting his feet wet on this side of the river and on this side of the practice of law. So Andrew did defense work up until now, and
that's right.
Kind of want to let him talk about what made him switch and give the people a little bit of an idea of what to expect if they think they've had a medical malpractice case.
Yeah, so I've been working for Mr. Short for about a week, but in the last 17 years, I did med mal defense, worked for doctors, represented doctors in medical malpractice cases, tried cases on behalf of doctors, hospitals, things like that. And recently kind of made a decision that I really wanted to work on the plaintiff side. And the reason I wanted to work on plaintiff side is that when it comes to defense cases, you really don't get to choose your clients all the time. You're kind of assigned somebody.
Yeah.
On the plaintiff side, you can really choose, you don't have a choice because you do have a choice. You're choosing who you want to work for. Mm-hmm. You're choosing the good cases. You're choosing the clients that you want to work, that you want to help out. And the very best people, the very best cases are the ones that we're trying to work on the plaintiff side. And, trying to help people is something that I've always really, really been about. And I'm really excited to kind of be switching over to do that.
Well, and, that's got to be kind of an interesting transition for you, too, especially with all that time there. And do you think, just take me through the first week, or just some of your mindset changes, because I'm sure that's kind of fascinating, if it's okay for me to ask that.
Well, so from a professional perspective, one of the first things that's very different is that on the defense side, everything's about billable hours and how much you bill. On the plaintiff side, you really get to choose the work you want to do, the work that's most important. And you can be more efficient, in my opinion. So I think that's probably the thing I really like the most so far. Yeah, absolutely.
And what do you think you're going to be able to take away? Especially with all that background on the other side. I wouldn't want to go to court with you. I'm telling you that
now. Well, and so that's another interesting thing is that there's a way that these cases are tried in a certain way. We get on the defense side, mm-hmm. and there's certain tips and tricks you kind of learn. And I think one of the things that I'm bringing to Mr. Short's firm is my experience on the defense side, trying these cases, what these companies are thinking, what they're not thinking, mm-hmm. what goes through their minds. And I think that's really kind of a valuable thing that I can bring to Mr. Short's firm. And I'm really excited to kind of come over and bring that experience and transfer it over to the plaintiff side.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, and now, when we're talking about, medical malpractice and just this as at large, what can this all encompass? Because I know that's kind of it could be a pretty broad term, correct?
Sure. So med mal encompasses kind of everything. Mr. Short's office on defense and plaintiff, we represent all kinds of clients from cases generally that involve medical negligence, either a doctor, a hospital, nurse practitioner, or someone like that has made a mistake. There are many good doctors out there, but sometimes doctors make mistakes. Mm-hmm. Everybody makes mistakes. And so those are the types of cases that we'll be involved in, where someone is either injured. Unfortunately, sometimes people pass away or die, and it's because of a clinician's negligence. And those are the kind of cases that we'll work on, and we'll represent our clients in those cases, or maybe their family members, and then try to get them a good result.
How important is it to, and this, I hope it comes off the right way, is it to keep the emotional balance in that too? Because, I'm somebody that the moment, especially if someone happens to someone's family member or you never know what happens, but say someone's gone because of that. And there's that advocacy, and I'm sure balancing that mental aspect to it and the emotional aspect of it too, so you're still getting the full vision and the full plain view for your clients.
It's very difficult at times.
I could only imagine, seriously.
We've had clients that, just recently we had a client that passed away very shortly after her deposition, and it's emotionally taxing.
Yeah.
You interact with that client, you become close to them, they don't make it, and now you still have to press on with this case, and you have to be pragmatic about it. You have to be realistic about it, but we would be lying if we said we weren't emotional about it.
Right.
We can't take that out of the equation.
No, and that's where I find this work so fascinating because it's so involved. And I mean, you're touching every aspect of a family sometimes when you're looking at some of these cases or just someone's life and you're really examining it. And that's really just where I think it's so crucial here. And now, what are the steps? So when someone makes that first phone call and, obviously a situation happens, we know that there's something there. What do those steps kind of look like, that initial conversation and really just kind of what that first step in the path looks like?
So I'm on day 5. So as far as those steps is how they go, there's an initial intake process where you talk to your client. You say, why are you here?
Right.
And if you think they have a case, you'll look at medical records. But that's probably something that maybe you'd even be better to talk about.
Because more fascinating.
It is. It's difficult too because a bad result doesn't necessarily mean there was negligence. Mm-hmm. There are natural consequences of medical procedures and things like that happen. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you just get a bad result, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's been malpractice. So the way you kind of judge malpractice and the legal standard that's used in that case is, was there a violation from the standard of care? So if the average careful surgeon does X, Y, and Z, and the surgeon in this case left out Z, then we probably have a medical negligence case.
Wow.
But if they did X, Y, and Z, and there was just a bad result, or somebody had other comorbidities, another health condition.
Is there like an act of God thing in that too?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, there's certainly, people just pass away. But if the doctor did everything as they were supposed to do, that's not a case we're going to take.
Right.
We really do try to only take cases that we truly believe that there was some negligent act. We're not just going to take anything that walks through the door.
And the other thing I'd add is sometimes even if you have a doctor who, like, let's say a doctor clearly messed up and made a mistake, you also have to have the second part, which is damages. And so a lot of times, I had my mother-in-law many years ago, she had a knee injury and the surgeon did not do a great job. He nicked a artery and she was bleeding. And she said, I think I've got a good case. I was like, you have a good case. I said, but, how are you doing today? And she says, well, I'm absolutely fine. I said, okay, well, how much time were you in the hospital because of them nicking that artery? She said, about a day and a half. And she goes, so how much is my case worth? And I said, about a day and a half's worth of hospital bills because you're doing fine. So that's the second part. I think sometimes people don't realize.
Christmas was interesting.
Well, that's what happens when your daughter marries an attorney, right? So, but I think that's the second element. A lot of times people don't think about. They think, oh my gosh, the doctor clearly screwed up. But you also have to have that second part.
Yeah.
That the injury is actually permanent and that the damages you have are actually more beyond just
and
what he did was wrong.
Yeah. I mean, these cases cost a lot of money to work up.
Oh, I couldn't imagine.
We have to hire experts, and that's sometimes thousands and thousands of dollars that are out of our pockets. So we're not going to take it if we don't think it's going to be, something that we can recoup those costs on. We can't. We'd be bankrupt.
Now, do you ever have an opportunity? This was what I felt just thinking about this earlier when you guys came on. If a surgeon has an issue, or because just going back to that topic, because I'm sure there's still so many other ways, but he has an issue. But can you find out if there wasn't any sleep the night before, like a truck driver, if he's into a semi-auto crash and they didn't log there? Is that a thing?
Oh yeah, so that's called discovery. So throughout the process, you're going to ask all kinds of questions. You ask them about their training. You ask them about other bad outcomes that they may have had to kind of try to develop a pattern of maybe, hey, you kind of had this bad outcome repeatedly and it's not an accident anymore.
Right.
You're just not taking care of your patients appropriately. So through the discovery process, you can really kind of dive into, are there any other things that may have caused this to happen?
I feel like discovery would have to be the part where you guys are like, this is where your office shines and, where you really get the bulk of your case, kind of figured out and almost settled,
100%. Yeah. Discovery makes or breaks your case. You might go in and take some depositions or get some medical records that really build your case up and you think, okay, now we're really in a position to take this thing all the way to trial and we're going to win. Or the other side
Yeah,
kind of
that's
happens.
what I was gonna
You
say.
get a medical record that shows that you had this, same injury before, or it's a pre-existing condition, or you didn't tell the doctor about something that you should have told the doctor about, and all of a sudden our case completely falls apart. So discovery does absolutely make or break a case.
Well, and when I used to work on defense, we'd often call discovery a fishing expedition, because it's just about throwing that fishing pole out from plaintiff's side and bringing in whatever they can, and it would sometimes be frustrating to the defense side. But working on the plaintiff side, it's important because everything can potentially be relevant to a case. I mean, really small things that you wouldn't think are important can become very, very much important.
Well, and when you were defending, your clients, initially, take me through, just some of the things whenever a discovery period is happening, what the defendant side of thing kind of looks for. Is it just kind of a just wait and see, or just kind of just a reactionary thing, or what's that look like?
Well, so discovery in the medical malpractice cases are actually pretty typical. So it's pretty normal information that you'll receive. Now, there is some more with electronic medical records now.
Gotcha.
That kind of thing has become much more detailed. And like, for example, when a doctor enters something in a chart in a medical record, you can actually now go into the medical record and see exactly when it's entered by getting the information from the IT provider. So that's information that plaintiffs are asking for.
So they can't go back and enter it at a different date.
Right.
Right?
So
Exactly
if they alter a medical record after the fact, that's tracked now, now that things are digital.
Or not even altering a medical record. Sometimes, a chart entry will be placed in there, and that's just because that's when the chart's being signed off. Doesn't mean that's actually when it occurred. So
Right, that's true too. See, that's interesting. I like this. Well, and when you were talking about the medical mal side of things too, what are some of the, I hate to ask this, but what are some of the worst types of cases? Is it the ones where the plaintiff, the individual is not there, the victim's not there anymore? Or is it there one? Because what I could imagine with some of these is that you have a lot of, especially if the person's not there, maybe you have an internal thing going on with the family, or there's other things going on that kind of aren't distractions, but they also kind of slow down the process, I'm sure. I don't know if you...
Absolutely. I mean, we have situations where maybe the person who was injured and passed away had 2 children from 2 different mothers. And so now who's the proper... you have 2 people who may not agree on the course of action on how to move this case forward. And we, as the plaintiff's attorney, which is something you never had to deal with on the defense side,
I'm learning soon,
have to bring these people together to have a cohesive path forward. Because if you don't, you're not going to ever advance that case if you can't get all the heirs on board as to how that case is going to move forward. So things like that you would never experience on the defense side. But, and to your question too, what case is worse? It really depends, because you have somebody who's got a severe injury, let's say, and they have to have caretakers for the rest of their life.
Right.
So you have to develop a life care plan, and you have to come up with numbers and specials of how much is it going to cost to care for this person for the rest of their life. Now, if that same person passed away, the question might be how much of their income has been lost to their family.
Yeah.
So one may be a lot higher than the other, just depending on their earning capacity, how bad their injuries were. Sometimes someone living, and this sounds terrible to say, and I don't mean it to sound that way, but someone living sometimes has a more valued.
Yeah.
The case is more valuable than someone who passed away, just based on the expenses of the care that they're going to need for the rest of their life. So every case is so very different.
100%. And, when it comes to the medical mal side, we were talking a little about like physician's assistants. So does that go into like nursing homes and like individuals not being cared for there?
It is. We do handle nursing home cases. We've actually kind of reinvested in that area within the firm,
because it's been kind of a prevalent. It seemed like there's been a little bit more of those stories just floating around the region lately. I don't know why. Yeah.
Very sadly so. And the generations are aging. True. So as the population ages, there's more people in those facilities, more opportunities for things to go wrong in those facilities. Many of them we find out are very understaffed.
Yeah.
I can tell you, when I was working on the defense side, nursing home cases are always really hard to defend, because first of all, you usually are pretty understaffed, those facilities, and also the emotions. You're dealing with elderly people, some who have dementia, and some of these other issues, and they're just tough cases. So,
I couldn't imagine. That's what I was wondering too, because I've seen a couple of those and didn't know how that transferred over for you guys, but that's very interesting to hear about.
Yeah, I mean, in our office, we consider it. They're hand in hand, but we consider it a different area of law because there are different statutes that apply and things like that. But we definitely handle both of those types of cases.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When we'll take a quick break here and we'll come back, talk workers' comp, and have some more insights in the studio here on this Friday morning. 46 degrees still. It ain't changing out there, but we'll come back with more after this.
Oh no, another bad headache?
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to see your doctor.
OSF Healthcare can handle all of your family's primary care needs, including diagnosing health issues or referring you to a specialist. Schedule an appointment today.
No matter the season, Play It Again Sports in Edwardsville has the gear the athletes need to get in the game. Whether you're shopping for the newest sports equipment or saving money on quality used gear, Play It Again Sports carries what you need to maximize performance to get the most out of every swing, kick, stroke, or shot. We'll even buy your used goods, paying cash on the spot. We carry all the gear for all the sports all year long. We're your hometown sporting goods store. Play It Again Sports, conveniently located at 4 Club Center Court in Edwardsville.
Yo, what up? It's Mike Keith, the proud graduate of Lewis and Clark Community College. I got my start in broadcasting and now I work all over the country. I discovered my path in media, but I could have been an electrician. Or I could have been a nurse.
Maybe not.
Get paid to go solar.
We're not solar bros. At Grid, we're solar pros. We explain the process behind solar power so you can make an informed decision. We'll work with you to make owning your power as simple as possible and affordable with zero down financing and payment options. Our only goal is to save you money. Call Grid when you're ready to be independent of the power company.
Looking for the best barbecue in Madison County? Head over to Carver's Barbecue in Godfrey, Illinois. From loaded barbecue nachos to mouth-watering pulled pork, brisket, ribs, and more, Carver's serves up award-winning flavors you'll love. Family-owned, Carver's is all about fresh, made in-house dishes served daily. Come visit us at 2716 Groveland in Godfrey, or give us a call at 618-467-9999. Order online, get it catered, or stop by for the best smoked meats around. Where great flavors meet family tradition, you'll find Carver's Barbecue.
Since 1993, Sparks Junk Removal is always adapting to the needs of our clients. That is why we now offer weekly trash pickup for selected areas. Plus, we offer driveway-safe rubber-tired dumpster rental. Give us a call today at 618-781-1407 or visit us at sparksjunkremoval.net.
You're listening to Our Daily Show with CJ Nasello on RiverBender.com.
We're gonna take a trip across the sea.
A little bit of change on this Friday morning. A little ELO for me today. Need to get the spirits up. It's cold outside, a little muggy.
Kind of dreary.
Yeah. Would that be a good day for a courtroom? Or do you like a sunny day? Like if you had to pick?
I mean, I want the sunny day on Saturday when I'm outside. I'll take this day to be in the courtroom.
So workers, we're coming back and talking about workers' comp a little bit. And, take me through, that's a bigger portion of what you guys are doing over at the office, correct, too?
It's about 50-50. So,
really?
Keith and Andrew now are doing all the med mal and that kind of stuff. I run the workers' compensation department in addition to the estate planning and probate that we've talked about before. Mm-hmm. I started doing workers' compensation right out of law school. I actually started straight into that, which was kind of unique. And there were no female plaintiffs lawyers back then. So I was I stood out in the courtroom for that, for sure. But yeah, we just want to talk about, so many people have some misconceptions about it, and we get so many of the same questions. We thought it might be helpful to inform people kind of what is a workers' compensation case, what is it, what's not, and what do you need to know?
Well, see, for workers' comp, for me, just like at a nutshell, I feel kind of like it gets a bad rap sometimes because it's such a needed thing, and there's folks that take these tremendous accidents at work or something happens, and their life's completely altered.
Absolutely.
And then, I'm sure on the flip side of it, you have maybe the individual that maybe is a little bit disgruntled and has that, whatever situation happens, and then boom, here I won $150,000 for my bad back for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So we try really hard to differentiate those clients.
I know you do. That's why, Holly, I don't know how you do it, because I'd be looking at somebody going, okay, now, all righty here. Half hour's up.
Sometimes, you always try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And it's so important because people they get hurt at work. They're scared. They're scared, is my job going to be impacted?
Right.
Do I even report this or am I going to suffer at the hands of my employer for reporting this? So there's all these emotions that come with that. I mean, it's your livelihood. It's the most important thing you have going besides your family.
Well, and especially right now where it seems like finding that solid job, because there's job opportunities, but they aren't always the most solid for people right now. So to go through that, especially when maybe things are tight, that's got to be challenging.
Yeah, and I've had clients before who were afraid to report their injury, so they waited until they left the job and then reported the injury, only to find out that they violated the first rule, which is you have to report the injury within 45 days or you get no compensation.
Right.
You can be, you can literally have a bone sticking out of your leg. And if you didn't tell the employer and make it known within 45 days, you don't get any compensation for that. So it's important to act quickly. Mm-hmm. It's important to understand the medical aspect of it. So in Illinois, for instance, you're able to choose your own doctor to treat through medical malpractice. However, you are limited in the choice of doctors that you have. So you're only allowed to choose 2 doctors you're choosing and then any referrals that they would refer you to. But so often people go to their primary care doctor only to find out that doctor is not an orthopedist, can't work on a bad back or a shoulder injury, or they get their primary care refers them to an orthopedist, and then they find out that orthopedist won't take workers' compensation insurance, or won't give a deposition if necessary in their case. So it's really important. That's why we suggest getting an attorney early on in the process to make sure that you've provided notice, and to make sure that you are with a doctor that actually will accept payment from workers' compensation and is going to participate in your case, giving a deposition, things like that.
Is that something you've run into countless times?
So many times.
Really? Okay.
So many times where they've been treated. They've maybe even received excellent treatment through their group insurance, but now when they try to take it to the work comp realm, the doctor won't provide a deposition, so we have no testimony to take to court, and we don't have, they won't accept the work comp payment. It's a mess.
Well, and when we talk about work comp too, I think this is fascinating for folks because, when I think a lot of people think of workman's comp, I'm thinking of a lineman that falls, and has this, nasty day at work, or, someone at a factory somewhere. But there's also, I'm sure, the other side of workers' comp that could, encompass a whole lot more than the slip and fall and the major accident.
Absolutely. I mean, there's repetitive injuries.
Yeah.
I've repeatedly lifted boxes, and now I have a back injury that wasn't a specific fall or something like that. It's repetitive. Carpal tunnel from, legal assistance typing for hours and hours a day.
Right.
Any of those kind of things. So there's the repetitive nature and there's the acute nature.
Well, and someone might chuckle at that, but I mean, that's a life-altering thing because you got to stop, typing after, 25 years and you need another 5 to go to get to where you need to be. That's a big problem.
It absolutely is. And so many people, we have so many clients that had a job and it was the job that they could do based on their education, their background, their training. Mm-hmm. And once that job's gone, they can't find employment. I mean, it truly is life-altering. And sometimes it's a relatively minor injury that kicks somebody out of their job because they have a lifting restriction and they did heavy manual labor. Now with the lifting restriction, they can't do that job anymore. Yeah. So it's really important to understand those things. The other thing is car accidents. People don't think about the fact that if you are in a car accident while you are on the job, that is a workers' compensation case.
No, seriously?
It is,
I didn't
absolutely.
Even it makes sense now that you say that, but you're right. I wouldn't even have thought that at all.
Not on your way to the office, not on your way home from the office, but if it's in the middle of the day, let's say I'm on my way to court.
Okay.
It's a perfect example. I've left the office, I'm driving to the courthouse, I get in an accident. That's a workers' compensation case. And here's the interesting thing about workers' compensation, which is very different from anything else we do. It's a no-fault system. So let's say the accident was my fault. I wasn't paying attention and I ran a red light.
Yeah.
I still was hurt in the course and scope of my employment. I still am entitled to compensation for that injury. Now, on the flip side of that, we have clients that'll come in and want to tell us all about the crappy conditions that their employer had.
Right.
You know, they have things stacked up to the ceiling and boxes everywhere, and I tripped and I fell. That doesn't matter either because it's a no-fault system.
Yeah.
So you don't get more compensation because the employer
It makes sense.
created
It's
a
two-way
worse
street.
condition for you. But at the same time, you are compensated in a situation where, as long as it's in the course and scope, you know, as long as it wasn't intentional, you can't run your car into a bridge. But if it's truly an accident, even if you were the at-fault driver, if you are in the scope of your employment, it's still compensable.
Wow, that's fat. So, like, if someone is, let's say, they leave the office to go to a lunch meeting and they get into a wreck, that would still be part of the workers' comp claim.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Like
going to
if
be
it's a work
if
meeting.
it is a work meeting. Yeah, if the employer has said you need to go meet with this client.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Mhm.
Wow.
So it's not. So many people think of workers' compensation as being just manual labor
That's
jobs.
right. I mean, that's why I started off with that because
Yeah.
that to me is where everyone I think would go.
But no, there are absolutely office jobs that end up right in the same space.
This is an interesting question, and I don't know if you've experienced it. Have you had someone in there for, you know, maybe they were a data, an analyst for 30 years and they've lost their eyes are completely impaired and they can't see because they spent 9 hours or 12 hours looking at a bright. You know what I'm saying? I've always wondered if that was ever going to start happening.
I don't think I've had one like that.
Or
That's an
staring at your
interesting.
phone?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, now that would be what the defense side I think would have
See,
to say.
do you see how it went right to the defense brain?
And I would probably agree with you.
We're still training him. We'll get him. We'll get him up to speed on this.
Well, but I could see that, you know, actually, I've noticed my wife and I both, probably just because we're getting older, but because we're looking at phones and laptops, everybody's looking at screens all day, our eyes are getting worse.
Really bad.
Way faster than it used to be the case.
Yeah.
That's why I just thought of, you know, that would be something I would think of being an interesting one to kind of
Yeah,
go
you
through.
know, that's not one I've come across, but I could see, I mean, and it all comes, you know, everything with work comp comes to the doctors. So you would have to have a doctor say that this is the cause and not this, to the exclusion of your personal screen time.
That makes sense.
So
What is the
it all
most
comes down.
interesting one you've had?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, I've had some very traumatic ones that stick in
I'm
my head,
sure.
like explosions and fires, and you know, somebody who's been hit.
Oh,
yeah, that was one recently.
Wow.
Yeah, and not only was he burned, but he also fell several feet when this this machine exploded. So I mean, you have all kinds, you know, and sometimes we have really interesting ones where one thing leads to another.
That's what I
So
was
you
going to
have,
ask. Yeah.
yeah, I have one that was a back surgery, and it should have been a rather routine surgery, but she developed a complication from the surgery, and now has blood clotting issues, and so, you know, so now the case has grown because of the natural consequence of the progression of things, and you know, as long as the doctors are saying, okay, the injury was caused by work. The surgery was required because of the injury, and this consequence of the surgery happened. It all ties back as long as you can connect all the links of that chain. What's the way lawyers talk about it a lot? Can we connect the links of the chain?
It seems like
then it
you're
goes
your own
back.
Sherlock Holmes in a way too. I mean, it really when you're doing this, because I mean, I'm sure you have, you know, a whole you've got teams and experts and all that, but when you're doing this, you have to really be focused on who you're talking to and the information you're gathering, because, you know, one slip up, I'm sure, on a conversation with somebody could potentially derail everything.
Absolutely. And, you know, with medical records being like they are now, everything's documented.
Right.
So, you know, you go to your client and you say, okay, why does this medical record say that you said this?
Yeah, right.
Now we have to have a really uncomfortable conversation and try to figure out if this can be fixed or if you
So
kind of derailed the whole
whenever you
thing.
worked at Walmart and you fell and hurt your back too, let me ask you about
Right.
That's interesting.
Or I had a client that told the hospital that he hurt his back a week prior while he was on a float trip and jumped off of a cliff.
Oh no!
And we didn't know until we're weeks into the case,
Oh,
you know,
no.
and get that medical record.
Oh no, that's an angry phone call.
It is a very angry phone call. I do not mislead, and I do not like being misled.
Oh my gosh, no, that's not. Well, with that being said, we had a couple of minutes left. What would you like for people to know about workers' comp before we say goodbye for now?
Yeah, so I just want,
Is
like
it
we
workers
talked.
or workmen's? What?
So it's workers.
Okay.
S apostrophe, if we want to get very specific, compensation in the state of Illinois.
Okay.
But every state kind of has their own.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was saying it right.
Really important. Take action immediately.
Mm-hmm.
If you think you've been hurt at work, notify the employer immediately. Seek medical treatment immediately. Those are the first two things. The third thing would be go ahead and find an attorney to help walk you through this process. Yeah. It will be 100% easier in the long run if you get an attorney at the start, not at the finish.
Absolutely. And, Andrew, before I let you go,
sure.
You're 5 days in, but what's your thought for folks that are, maybe, and honestly, because of what you're doing, experiencing something that's, kind of right now causing a hurdle, and what's your advice to them?
Well, so my advice to people is that if you think a doctor and a physician truly did something wrong, give us a call. And I think something that's really unique about Mr. Short's firm is I live in St. Louis, Missouri, and of course we've got the river here. And most attorneys will either practice in Illinois or Missouri, but they don't usually practice in both states. We take cases equally in both states. We take a lot of Missouri cases and Illinois cases, and that's something that is not really done by a lot of attorneys. They usually specialize in the state. And I'm obviously I took the bar exam in both states, have tried cases in both states. Keith has as well. And I think that's really something we bring that you're not going to see from a lot of firms on either plaintiff or defense side.
Absolutely. And how do we reach out to you?
Our website is www.siltrial.com, or give us a call. It's 618-254-0055, and we're right here in Alton, downtown, Market Street, 325 Market.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for stopping by, and really looking forward to the next one. No problem. Our Friday morning continues right after this on RiverBender.com and Roku TV.